cannot wait for us to watch Ant-Man tonight. I mean, obviously the movie's gonna butcher the original storyline, but come on, he's like the most underrated character in the Marvel Universe. Hey, screw Ant-Man, man! Let's go to Vegas!
The Venturi fans from Fractal Design make everything cooler. That's right, even you. Check the link in the description for more info.
What's up, guys? Welcome to my custom water-cooled build log. This is build log number 5, where I'm going to be doing some custom cable sleeving for the, well, I haven't really named the water cooling system rig yet, but I should name that soon. But that system is going to get some nice sleeving. I've got some Telio sleeving from the guys over at Mainframe Custom. Super cool guys, they do a really great job. Go ahead and check their site out if you're looking to do some sleeving yourself. So you'll see right here I've got some white sleeving. I'm going to be spray painting this stuff pink, and then I'm going to mix that with black and gray sleeving and do a kind of mixture of those three colors that really ties in with the color scheme of the rest of the system. And I'm going to see if that works, because I've never tried this before. Some people online have recommended to stay away from spray painting your sleeving. Telios is kind of like a plasticky material, so I think the paint will adhere a little bit better than it would on like a fabric sleeving, for example. But we're gonna find out. That's all part of the fun and the learning experience for today. So I've got my ATX pins right here, all my wires all wired up with them pretty ATX pins. So I'm gonna be doing my sleeving extensions for the 4 PCIe cables, because I've got 2 GTX 980 Ti's in there. So I've got 4 of those going in, as well as my 24 pin ATX for the motherboard. Now you're probably wondering, how do you go about spray painting this stuff? And I actually tried to do a tester. I actually cut one piece, about a foot long piece, and tried spray painting. I literally just held it on, I put it on top of a little table, spray painted it, and it like literally just flew off the table, landed on the ground, and it was ruined. So I tried another piece. I took a piece of really thin wire and I hung the little piece of sleeving from like a clothesline. I spray painted it up and down that way, but then it just kept waving around like frantically. So I wasn't able to get a really nice even coat on that either. So I've kind of devised a new method. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking these little shish kebab skewers that I got at your local grocery store or whatever, and I'm going to be sticking them in this piece of foam. And then I'm going to be taking individual pieces of sleeving and sleeving them over the shish kebab sticks. Does that make sense? So, go like that, stick it in there, and there it is. The sleeving's all nice and straight, it holds its form really well, and you get 360 degrees of accessibility to evenly coat the entire surface area. So, on that note, why don't we get started? Alright guys, so the cable sleeving process is finally finished. It took me about anywhere from 8 to 10 hours for the whole procedure, not including time it takes for the paint to dry. And we'll take a look at the finished product. Here it is. I think it looks pretty darn nice. That being said, I can only confirm that spray painting your sleeving can be done with this particular type of sleeving, because it's the only one that I've ever done it with, obviously. This is the Telio sleeving. Again, probably the best sleeving to spray paint because it's not like fabric or clothy. It's just kind of more like a plastic, and the paint adheres really well. As long as you let it dry fully before handling, you should be fine. But I think it looks really nice. The color actually came out nice too. It matches the fluid, pretty spot on. I also did want to mention that I'm very happy with how my sleeve kebab method worked out for spray painting these suckers. Just like I intended, I was able to basically attack the sleeving from all angles, going 360 degrees around, just kind of spray painting it until everything was coated, and also keeping it rigid and not waving around anytime I'd spray some paint at it was really, really helpful and very effective, so I'm happy about that. Some snags that I had hit in my sleeving experience. Now remember, this is the second time that I've sleeved my own cables. Cable extensions, let me turn this aperture. But I hit some snags this time around that I didn't hit the first time actually, so I was kind of intrigued by that and also very annoyed. It's very frustrating. The first thing was that I couldn't get one of the I couldn't get one of the cables into the connector. My heat shrink work was just too thick and it wasn't fitting in, and I kept trying to shove it in, which is stupid of me. It was a pink cable that I was doing it with, and the finger oils on my fine self, they rubbed off onto the paint, and some of the paint actually came off of the cable sleeving, and so you could see some of the white bleeding through the cable, and it didn't look very good. So I had to actually take the sleeving off and flip it around. You know, I had to like ruin the heat shrink job that I had done to get it off the wire in the first place. It made the cable, the sleeving, a lot shorter. So what ended up happening was the other end that goes behind my motherboard tray is now short, or it's now devoid of some sleeving. And it's definitely an eyesore, but luckily it's behind the motherboard tray. Now that could have all been avoided had I painted extra sleeves. I made the stupid mistake of only painting the exact number of sleeve pieces that I needed. And I should have known, doing this once before, that things are going to go wrong at some point and you are going to need extra everything. So bear that in mind. Always paint more than you need, because what'll happen is if you have to go back to the drawing board and paint a new piece of sleeve, that sets you back like hours because you have to wait for the paint to dry. So it's just a big mess that you can easily avoid if you just paint some extras from the get-go. The other major snafu that I hit when sleeving these cables was actually not plugging in the wire, but taking it out. I made a lot of stupid mistakes this time around, guys. I know none of you are surprised at all, but I actually plugged in one of the cables into the wrong hole in the connector, so I had to get it out. And for whatever reason, I couldn't get it out. Even with my ATX pin removal tool, it just didn't work for some reason. I kept trying to yank it out. Eventually, I yanked it all the way out, and the cable and sleeve came, but the ATX pin was stuck and lodged inside of the connector still. And I looked for an hour or so online trying to figure out how to get this damn thing out, because it's really hard. You can't just jam it with something on the other end, because those little pins on the side are locked into place. So you have to have the ATX pin removal tool in there while you're trying to get it out, which makes it impossible to push anything through. You actually have to pull it. So what I ended up doing was I took a piece of really thin wire that I just happened to have lying around. It was actually part of my vape DIY kit stuff. So I jammed a wire in there, the same side of the connector that the wire would go into. I jammed it all the way through until it came out the other end, and then I bent a little loop. I just kind of like twisted it and made it into a J, like a fish hook, and then I pulled it and managed to yank it out. Bear in mind, with the ATX removal pin in the entire time. It was an ordeal. It took me like an hour and a half to finally figure out how to do it and actually get the damn thing out. So what I will suggest is buy extra connectors as well, because it would have just been easier if I had just had a spare connector, the same connector lying around, that I could have just tossed that one that had the stuck ATX pin in it and just use the fresh one. And they're cheap anyway, so just stock up on a bunch of them. But I think on that note, everybody, that pretty much wraps up this here custom build log number 5. Jeez, we're on 5 now. My goodness. There will be a couple more. I know in the last build log I was like, oh, there's only 1 or 2 more and then it'll be done. That's a lie, because I recently officially decided that I'm going to be using hardline tubing for this build. As nice as it looks, you know, with the soft tubing, I think hardline tubing will look much better with those cleaner lines and the super straight corners and stuff like that. I've been talking to the guys at Primo Chill. They're hooking me up with some PETG tubing, and I'm going to need to get a heat gun and stuff like that. But that'll be a whole build log on its own. And holy crap, I can't imagine the snafus that'll hit there. So stay tuned for that. But apart from that, apart from the hardline tubing, I think I just need to add a fan in here, maybe paint it pink, maybe paint this cover plate or just part of it. You guys were saying just maybe paint the X99 or the ring around it. I still have to decide if I'm going to do either of those. If I have the pink fan in here, I might not need to do this at all. And then I think it's just a matter of tricking it out with maybe some pink LEDs or something like that, and I think we'll be good to go. And obviously wiring up the rest of the cables. You can see the 8-pin and some of the fans aren't plugged in. Some of the fans aren't even installed yet, but that'll all happen in due time. So thank you guys so much for joining me in this build log. Stay tuned for more tech videos coming really soon. Hit that like button if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see y'all in the next video.